One of the most common questions I see in speedrunning is asking what Livesplit is, if it's necessary, and how to set it up. Livesplit is a tool that speedrunners use to show how far behind or ahead they are compared to the personal best. You have what is known as splits to show this data. Essentially, a split is when you complete a certain objective and mark that on Livesplit. Livesplit will then show you if you saved or lost time on that split compared to your personal best. Today I'm going to show you guys how to use and set up Livesplit. The first thing you're going to want to do is head to livesplit.org and then go to the downloads page. Just download 1.8118, or if you're in the future, just whatever is the latest update for Livesplit. You're just going to download it. Your PC may say it's a virus. Just know it's safe. It's completely safe. Lots of people use it. Totally safe to use. So when you first open Livesplit, it's just going to look like this. So I'm just going to show you guys what each of the options does in this. And then I'll show you what my layout looks like and what some other layout looks like, just so you guys can kind of get an idea for what you want to make yours look like. So obviously the first thing you want to do is actually add like your splits. So you're going to add the game name. So we'll just go with we'll just do Lego Star Wars 2. Easy game. Run category, we'll say that you're running any percent. Actually, give me just 1 second. Just fix that. There we go. This is what yours is going to look like. So we'll go ahead and add the game name again. There we go. And then we'll say we're running any percent. You can also go into additional info, change your region, player style, say solo, your platform, console, whatever you want to do. And it also will show you the rules for the run and all that kind of stuff. So for this first segment, we'll just say 4-1, which is the first level. And then we can go 4-2, so on and so forth. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go ahead and open up my splits that I already have. So this is what it would look like if you were to complete a run on this default layout with nothing done at all to it. If I were to start the timer, it would just start like this. It has an attempt counter, has the name of the category, and then it even kind of goes a little bit into the subcategories. If I were to split now, that is what the gold looks like. If you do not gold, it would just be green, or if you're behind, it'll go to red. And then down here, it'll show you your previous segment. So that's basically what the default layout looks like. Another thing that you can do in this, and I will show you what that looks like with, for example, if I was to go to Lego Star Wars Complete Saga, it has an auto splitter that's already completely and totally available. So the way auto splitters work is basically they only really work for PC games because it's reading the PC's memory through Livesplit. You don't have to do anything to set it up. It's already all fully set up. So all you'd have to do is go into settings, and then you just make sure you have start and split, and then it'll split on when the community has basically decided that's where we're going to split is a status wipe, and then it'll end for you as well. So it'll auto start, auto split, and auto end. So it'll do everything for you. And some games have them, some games don't. But either way, this is how you would do it if the game just has it immediately available from this screen. If not, I can show you how to do that as well later on. Let's just go back here. So other tabs in here, insert above would just be inserting a split above the one you have selected. Remove segment, insert below will also just insert one below. You can move the split ups. You can move whole sections up and down too. So if you were doing a multi-game run and you want to put one game in front of another, you could just select the whole game of splits and then move it up. And it's way easier than trying to delete all the splits and add them all back, or move all of them up one at a time. Another thing you can do is add comparisons. So for example, here I have a 133 comparison. And actually the way I made this was I did not sit here and put all these times in like this. What I did was I opened a new file and put them all into the segment time. And then I just hit import comparison from file and then selected the file, and it just put all the times in just like that. So that's basically it for editing splits and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously saving, opening is all pretty self-explanatory. So these are the different comparisons that you can have. I'll actually show you how to get more because you guys are not going to have all the ones that I have. You do settings and then you go to active comparisons, choose comparisons, and I just have them all selected. Best segments is basically whenever you complete a segment or a split of your run, it will save the fastest time that you ever have done that split or segment. And it'll kind of combine it all together and show you what theoretically, if you were to do everything the fastest you've ever done it, this is what you could get. So that's what that compares to. Best split times is basically like, for example, it would be the fastest time that I ever completed Secret Plans and Junland all in one run. So not the fastest segments I have for each individually, but how fast I've done them both together. And that does that for the whole run. Average segments is it takes your last 5 times that you have gotten to that level and averages them out. Median segments is a little bit different than average. It takes the last 5 and then it takes the middle one, so the third run of those last 5, and it shows you that split. This one's a little bit weird. I personally don't use it, but some people might find a use for it. Worst segments is just the worst time you ever got on that split or segment. Balanced PB is it's kind of like your average segments, except that it uses your PB, and then it instead of like let's say you lost a minute on one split, well it would split that minute up throughout all your splits, so it's more of an average pace run. Like let's say you're really good at one level, you're really bad at one level. It'll be more lenient on that level that you're really bad at. And then latest run will be the latest run that you completed. And then none will obviously just be no comparison at all. So that's how you do comparisons. The way that real time and game time work is some games like we'll just use Lego games as an example, but it'll be Lego Harry Potter, Lego Pirates, and actually just those 2 games are the main one, and then it's actually both Harry Potters, but they have a load remover, which it does exactly what it sounds like. It just removes the loads and makes the game a bit more accessible for people with worse PCs because loads are a pretty big deal in most Lego games. So we do have load removers for those games. So if you were to use those, you'd want to select game time, and I'll show you how to set up all the load remover and make sure everything's actually working. But for most games, you're just going to compare against real time, and then you can just cycle through your comparisons either here, or if you go into settings, you have hotkeys right here. So, for example, this is your starting and splitting. This is this is my reset key. This is my undo split. So let's say I split by accident and I need to undo it. I would undo it. Or let's say I missed the split, so I need to skip it. So I would skip it. The pause key isn't really used because you're not really allowed to pause your timer in most games. But if you did want to set one, you could. And then this is how I would go back and forth through my comparisons with these keys. And then you can have a key to toggle global hotkeys. Usually I just have them always on if I'm actually doing a run because it's really nice not to have to remember to click back onto the splits. Plus, if you're running a PC game, the game will be full screen and you can't be clicked on your splits, so you have to have global hotkeys enabled. And then it's just, double tap prevention and make sure that if let's say you accidentally hit the split button twice, it won't split twice. It'll just split once. And then this is basically, I could use my controller to split if I wanted to. You can set hotkey profiles. So if you are running a game where, let's say, most games you don't have to use numpad 8, but was one game, one of your players uses numpad 8 for whatever reason, you could set different hotkey profiles for those different games. Then there's warn on reset at better times. Basically, that's just if you were to gold a split and you were to reset, it would ask you to make sure that you want to save that gold because let's say you accidentally split and you're trying to reset, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to save that gold because it's fake, then you would be able to select no or cancel or whatever you wanted to do. Speedruns Live is basically what most people use for races, and this is basically just a function that's built into Livesplit where you can race with people. Your timer will auto start, and it'll tell you how far behind you are compared to the other person, which is pretty cool. And then obviously, choose active comparisons is that what I already showed you guys. So this is the best way to kind of get a screenshot of your splits. I know some people will try and use snipping tool and try to drag it, but honestly, all you have to do is go in here and click screenshot and then click share, and it'll just save a screenshot of your splits to your desktop, which is the easiest way to share your splits when you get a PB or whatever you're trying to share. And then there's obviously a bunch of races going on and all that. So now let's get into the how to actually make your Livesplit look much nicer than this default layout. So we'll start with a timer. So first off is a detailed timer, which basically I'll just show you what it looks like. We'll actually remove this one and we'll move this up. Whoops. So a detailed timer. So basically that timer right here, the one on top, this one is going to show you your overall time for the entire run. That one's never going to change. It's just going to stay continually going up the whole time. However, the bottom one, whenever you split, the bottom one will reset, and it'll show you the timer that's running for just that split segment. So let's say I were to split on Secret Plans at 5:53, and I were to go to Junland Waste, this would reset to 0 seconds and then start showing me how long I've been in Junland for. And then also, when I actually start the timer, it'll also, what it does is it shows you your PB split for this split, and then the best time you ever completed it. And it'll do that for every split. So, you know, and some of them obviously will be the same because it was a gold last run. But basically, that is what detailed timer does. And let's see. So let's see. I've been running for 20 seconds. I were to split, and this timer resets. So that's how you use detailed timer, and that's what most people use for their timer. And then timer is just straight up just a timer, and that's it. It doesn't do anything else. So this is where things get a little more complicated with splits and subsplits. What you see on my splits right now is just normal splits. There's no subsplits. It's just completely normal. What I could do though is I will actually just show you. I didn't mean to do that. So I'll open a. No, I don't want to save this. I will open, let's say, these splits right here. So this is what it would look like if I didn't select subsplits. So these are subsplits I have, and basically with subsplits, I'll actually just show you guys what they look like. So essentially, it's you take this whole section of the run and you kind of put it all into one split, but you still want to have splits for each individual level. So like for example, in Harry Potter use 1 through 4, I have year 1 as essentially it's just one split. If you see at the top, once I scroll past all these, it kind of condenses down into one split. So it'll show me just the year 1 time. But when I'm playing through year 1, I can still see how I'm pacing on every level or every lesson or whatever it is I'm splitting her on. So I have these subsplits in there, and subsplits have a little bit weird formatting, and I can show you guys how to format those. It's really simple. takes a second to get used to. So this is what subsplits do. Some people use them, some people don't. It doesn't matter. It's completely and totally up to you. I personally prefer to use subsplits on certain games. In certain games, it's not as important, and I don't really mind as much. So we'll go back. Let's see there. So this is how the formatting works. Actually, I'll show you guys in here because it's a little bit easier to see. So basically, every split that you want to be counted into that sub-split, I should say. Every subsplit that you want to be counted into the split, is actually the correct way to say it. So you just put a dash in front of it, Don't put a space, just a dash, and that'll be it. And you'll go dash, dash, dash all the way until you're done. Then you'll put not brackets. I don't actually know what these are called, but it's you'll put these around the what you want that entire subsplit section to be called, and then you'll just put a space for the last split. Do not put a dash for this one, otherwise it'll just show up on your splits, and then it'll create that subsplit. And then you can do the same thing for the next one. I get to the last split of that subsplit, and I put I'm just going to call them brackets. The brackets around the name of the split. So that's the formatting. And if I were to go into edit layout and I were to add list subsplits, move this up and remove splits, you can see now it has fixed itself. So we'll go ahead and just go back to these splits. No. Edit layout. And we'll just change this back to how it was with the splits. Actually, I do know why I did that. It's because I can show you how to fix that later. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so there's splits and subsplits. And then you have information. So this will basically show people or yourself, if you're curious, what your current comparison is. So like right now it's saying I'm currently comparing to personal best, and if I were to change that, say I'm comparing to my 133 splits or best segments or best split times or just whatever I so choose. Personally, I don't find that very useful because I have a detail timer anyways that tells me what I'm comparing to. So I personally don't use this, but some people do. So delta will basically, it'll show you how far or how far ahead or how far behind you are compared to whatever comparison you choose for down here. So like, let's say that you don't want to compare to your PB, and you're comparing to best split times, but you're still curious how far ahead or behind you are from your PB, you can have this shown at all times. So even if you're not comparing to your PB, it'll still show you if you're ahead or behind your PB. So it's basically just another delta you can have. Possible time save will show you, it'll basically just take the time between your best segment and the time that you have in your PB, and it'll just tell you how many seconds or even minutes you have to save on that split. Previous segment will show you how much time was saved or lost on the previous split, and it'll even show you it'll show you the time that you saved or lost in that split, and then it'll have a slash, and then it'll show you how far off gold that split was, so you can figure out. You can just basically quickly do math without having to actually think about it. It'll just show it to you. Run prediction. This is Livesplit has some weird math here. I don't really know how this works, but basically, simplest way to put it is that Livesplit decides that if you were to continue this run at whatever pace that it thinks that you're going to finish at, that's what your run would be, basically. It's not really that accurate, but some people do still like to have it on their splits. Some of best, that'll just show you your current, all of your segments added up together. If you were to play the fastest you've ever played before, what they are. So 132, 34 in this case. But yeah. So then you can add text, and this is just anything you want to say that's completely customizable and up to you what you want to show on your splits. Title is what's already at the top. Total playtime is how much playtime you have on these splits. So like I have 19 hours on these splits. And then world record will show you what the current world record is for that game. And if you have world record, it'll say by us. Or I guess if you just have, if your time matches world record or is below world record, it'll say world record is by us. So then media, so you have graph. It'll show you Basically, it's basically another way to show how far or behind or ahead you are, or also PB chance, just using a graph instead. Sound effects. You can have sound effects play if you gold, if you save time, if you lose time, if you PB when you start a run, whatever you want. Video, you can have either your PB video or world record video, and it'll be synced up to the to your run, so it'll kind of be playing in the corner while your run is playing, so you can actually just look and see like, oh, I'm this far ahead, or I'm this far behind, or wow, whatever you want to see. So I've never this this is not really used very much in manual game time, but the scriptable odds auto splitter is used a lot. So this is how you would add an auto splitter or load remover if it wasn't in the edit split section. If it wasn't like attached to the game, you'd have to do it yourself. So I'll show you guys how to set it up after. This is just add a blank space. So you kind of, if your life split looks a little bit weird and you just kind of want like a blank space to kind of separate things, you can add this in. Um, and then this will show obviously if your hotkeys are on or off for global hotkeys. And then this will add lines kind of to separate things. So if I were to add a line here, I could split my title and my splits and stuff like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what my layout looks like. And we'll use this one as an example because it does have a little bit more complicated with subsplits and scriptable auto splitters and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go into edit layout, and kind of what I have is I have my title, my subsplits, detailed timer. Then I have a blank space to kind of go in between these because it was looking a little bit weird and it was kind of a little bit more bunched up than I would have liked. So I just added the blank space. I have my best possible time, which basically what that means is as you're going through the run, you have splits that could save. Sorry, as you're going through the run, let's say you're halfway through the run and you've obviously lost time to your sum of best segments. So your all your segments combined the best times. So it'll say if from here on out you were to match the rest of the best times you ever gotten on all your splits, this is what you would get. So like this is basically exactly what it means. This is your best possible time that you can currently get with how you're playing. Some best obviously already been explained. I'll show you guys how to use the auto splitter. So I do have a delta on mine to show me how far or ahead or behind I am. Sorry, of my best split times. So the best times I've ever gotten for a bunch of levels in a row. I have my total play time, I have world record, and then I have another timer at the bottom that's showing my real time instead of just my time with loads removed. So we'll kind of go ahead and go into layout settings. So here is where you kind of can adjust your entire layout to be just like whatever you want it to be. So obviously I have an image. You can change it to a color. Anything, it really doesn't matter. Whatever you'd like. Personally, I like this image. And then I can kind of change the opacity of the image. I kind of like it to have it about here. And I can blur it or unblur it, whatever I'd like to do. I kind of like to have it a little bit more blurred though. So then you can also change the fonts. I wouldn't recommend changing the fonts because Livesplit is built for this font. So if you use other fonts, you can get it to work, but a lot of times it'll be squished or it'll be cut off at certain points. Even if you change the font size, it doesn't work super well. And then you can have the colors. So this is if I'm ahead and I'm gaining time, I have a bright green. If I'm still going to be ahead after the split, but I've lost time, it's kind of a how do I say this? It's like a lighter green, I should say. It's a lighter green. If I'm currently behind my splits, but I'm saving time on the split, then I kind of have a lighter blue. And if I'm behind but I'm losing time, it's a darker blue. My best segment is just a gold. This is what most people use. The other thing people like to use is when they gold, it'll kind of flash through the rainbow. I do use that sometimes, but usually I just use the gold. Um, Not running is basically just what my timer looks like right now. I'm not running, so it just looks like this. Personal best is once I have completed the run, if I got a new PB, then it will be green. Um, if it's paused, again, I don't use this. This is what the timer will look like. This is what the separators look like, all that kind of stuff. And then you can change the text color, text outlines, all of that. And then this will show your best segments here. And then you can kind of mess with some other stuff. So then you have your title. This is everything you see up here. So basically, I have the game name, category I'm running, and then I also have variables shown, as well as I have my. This is the number of runs that I've completed. This is the number of times that I've started a run. So I basically completed 7 out of 101 runs that I've started. You can change the title font. You can change the title color, and you can kind of choose what you actually want it to even say, where you want it to be aligned. Also one thing I should say is if you choose an image, this is gonna look weird on the title, so you're gonna want to choose plain for your color, and then you're gonna want to go into background color and just set this bar right here all the way down because it's gonna make it basically see-through, complete see-through. So it's just gonna have then it'll have the image show over it. That's how that works. So now we'll get into sub-splits. You can have how many splits you want to be shown on screen. So I could have another split shown on screen. I personally like 8. Upcoming splits. So basically, as you're going through the run, if it'll start showing more or less splits, I guess, as you're going through. You can have separators, all that kind of stuff. This is when you see like this kind of like this bar over year 1. This is the current split background color, so you can kind of change that if you want. This also, if you do forget how to set up subsplits, this does tell you how to do it. Let's see. All of this is pretty self-explanatory. Your timer accuracy, if you just want to have it just be seconds, tenths, hundredths, just whatever you would like. I like tenths. I think hundredths looks pretty bad, but I know a lot of people like seconds as well. And then, so here is where you kind of set up your columns. So actually, let's just kind of move this out of the way so you can see. So I have 3 different columns. So this first column, you can't actually see it because I'm not running. There's a column right here that kind of tells me how far ahead or behind I am. And then this one tells me what time I got on that specific level. And then this tells me what time I am over the course of the whole run. And then detail timers, what I showed you guys before. Blank space. Best possible time is basically just I think it's called current pace is what it's called, and then you just select best segments, and then it'll tell you what your best possible time is. Yeah, some of the best, all that kind of stuff. So here we get to the scriptable auto splitter. So for basically any game, what you're gonna want to do is you're going to download that auto splitter from it should be on the speedrun.com page of whatever game. So you'll download it, and then I just save it into my Livesplit folder, and then I open it up. I select split on there. So now what it'll do is it will split on whatever we have kind of decided as the time that you split. So if, for example, in this game, it's whenever the game saves, it will split. So to get everything to actually work correctly, what you have to do is you have to go through everything and make sure everything is set to current timing method rather than real time. Some people will have a lot of issues with this, and this is their main problem that I see, is that they're not comparing to the current timing method. So if you're comparing to the current timing method, then you can just select everything to compare to game time, and then it'll all work together. So that you do the same thing for detailed timer. It needs to be on current timing method. This will automatically change. This will automatically change. And then this will also automatically change. The timer at the bottom I have specifically set to real time to make sure that it stays on real time no matter what. Um, so now if I were to go to change this to game time, everything will actually change to game time. And here's the other way is if you know you've done everything correctly. When I start my timer and I split, you see how there's nothing there? It's because it knows that the game is not running. So it knows that there can't be any game time happening, so it just counts it as nothing. So if I were to swap this back to real time, it would show that I did save 6 minutes in real time because that's not affected by the game time. Um, Let me think. All right, well, that's all I have for this video. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me on Discord. Feel free to leave a comment. Most people also that already are known speedrunners will also be able to help you with basically any issue you're having because they've probably encountered it. But yeah, hope you guys like this video.